Let's get started.
Howdy, welcome back to another fun-filled episode of the Unknown Secrets of Internet Marketing. I am your host, Matt Bertram. A couple quick housekeeping. We may be rebranding the podcast again. I brought on a new project manager, and based upon what y'all have said, we are going to make some more changes. So just be looking out for that. Thank you for being patient. As Chris left, we're kind of moving in a new direction. And to continue our series, I know something that's very hot for everyone is AI and what's going to happen with that. And as we're doing this series, I'm bringing in all kinds of movers and shakers and the experts in the industry. Ran across John Munsell with Ingrain AI, who is teaching people how to be an AI culture first, or in your business and your company, how to have an AI culture first. I think it's really important based on kind of a K-shaped approach of either you're going to adopt AI and you're going to rise and you're going to take more market share and you're going to grow, or you're going to keep doing exactly what you're doing and those other people are going to pass you by and it's going to become increasingly more difficult. So I would encourage you all to listen up to John. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I think everybody will listen intently to what you have to say as they're trying to figure out what to do with this new thing called AI that hasn't actually been new, but it's new to the public since ChatGPT. So
right. No, good to be on. I appreciate you having me on, Matt. I spent 25 years in digital marketing, so been doing this a while myself.
Yeah, it's constantly evolving. It's a moving target. Certainly, there's a lot going on with large language models, and really all the search engines are AI. That's essentially what you're doing is you're training the model to understand who you are and what you do and what your expertise, authority, and trust is to rank you higher to be the right answer for a number of different questions. And I really call SEO the language of AI in a lot of ways with schema and the things that you're doing. You're just trying to better communicate with the large language model, and it creates a feedback loop. And what we're seeing with a lot of businesses is they're really starting to get serious and say, hey, we need an AI program. How are we going to do this? We don't want you using maybe public language models. We don't want you to add to the database proprietary data. And so people are getting more sophisticated in what they're doing. I'm actually seeing a number of companies start to roll out AI initiatives. And, I think it's really going to start to impact the bottom line. I think also even with some publicly traded companies, as they start to harness AI, you're going to see some real growth. So Salesforce, for example, is one example that I'm following pretty closely. So
yeah, well, if you followed Salesforce, then you may or may not know that they just bought, Respell.ai. So big fan of Respells. Respell does AI automations and AI agents. And when they acquired them, I was like, "Oh, good for them," because we had the founder of Respell on our we have a mastermind. We had him speak to our mastermind last year, so I was happy for him. But on the other end, I was like, "God, I hope they didn't one of those deals where they bought them to just trash them because they were in their way." Because it was a really good product, but I got a good friend.
Well, I think the agents is, tell me a little bit about what you're seeing. I mean, I am spending a bit of my free time playing around with agents because I think anybody that's doing knowledge work or computer work, I mean, there's even tools where I can, if there's anything somewhat repetitive that I'm doing, I can teach an agent how to do what it is that I'm doing, and then give it a little autonomy. And eventually that could be a little employee right there, right?
Yeah.
And so what I see people doing, and I haven't dug into it enough, but they're building out full teams, right? With different specialties doing different things. and I think the VA space, the customer service space, like even with Salesforce, the sales space. I mean, I've seen some sales agents that are blowing my mind on what they can do, and then you're able to link all this stuff together. And then even ChatGPT just came out for $200 a month, with their agent uh, program, and I'm just going, man, this is moving really, really fast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's moving really fast. But I think it's like anything else. You got to crawl, walk, run, right? Running is the agent side. All right. You got to figure out how to walk before you get to doing agents. And then you got to figure out how to crawl first. So a lot of people are still, they haven't even addressed the crawl stage. So what they do is what I would call untethered AI. So in other words, they just ask AI to write them a blog post and they get something that sounds like AI. And if you just let that go into an agent, now you're going to have a crappy
Yeah,
sounding copy
yeah.
at scale, you know, which is going to really screw with your SEO as well. So that's where you need to back down and figure out how do you actually prompt the AI to how do you structure a prompt so that the AI not only sounds like you, but actually shares your thought leadership inside of whatever you produce and has the intellect to know how to optimize that, right?
Well,
Now,
I,
once
I
you
think that
create,
that's where you're uploading uh, data files, right?
well, yes and
And
no, right? So if step one is just learning how to get the AI prompting down
yeah, oh,
so
fair enough,
that it
fair enough. Okay, so
writes,
if
so
we're breaking it down, it's
yeah.
about
So
quality
step one
prompts.
is that, but in order to do that, you need to know what goes into a good prompt in order to get the output down. And what we teach is a framework that we call the AI strategy canvas, and it teaches you, and you can download it from free for free on our website, but it teaches you what blocks of information are necessary in order to get the best output out of AI. Once you understand that, then you move into the next stage, which would be what I would call the walk fast stage. And the walk fast stage is building like a custom GPT or a
Yeah,
Gemini gem or a Claude project, because now you've got repetitive stuff that you need to do. But in those GPTs, you can upload the documents that you need so that
yeah.
the AI has stuff to pull on, but you still need to have the right framework for what that prompt looks like. All right. So now you've got a machine that's built, let's say, to, I'm going to stick with blog posts for a while. So you've got a machine that's going
Okay.
to do the blog post. Once you've got it to build the blog post, you can also have it write LinkedIn posts and other social media
Yeah,
posts
yeah.
based on your blog post, right? You can have it SEO it, et cetera. But then what happens next is you might want to do it a little better and a little faster. And then you can start linking these GPTs together. All right. So inside of one context pane inside of ChatGPT, you can call another GPT, right? So you
Yep.
can start with one that maybe analyzes the topic that you're trying to do, pulls in current research on it. And then the next one, you're calling in your blog post writer. And so now it writes the blog post, but in it, as part of your GPT, what you want it to do is ask you for your thoughts on the subject. So the first one analyzes it, brings in a lot of data, summarizes it, and you look over that. And now you can inject your thoughts. But the next GPT writes like you, knows how to write a post, knows how to structure a post, knows how to do everything. And then it starts to write it. But if you create the GPT the right way, it does it in sections. So you don't want it to try to write it in one felled swoop. You want it to write it first, create an outline, and then create the sections. That way you can get a bigger blog post. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a 500-word blog post that doesn't go anywhere, right? So now once you've done all of that, now you got a really solid blog post. You call in another GPT, which then SEOs the post or gives you tips for SEOing it, right? So
Yeah.
you
So
can do
you're
all that
using
in
the
one
tokens,
context
right? You're
window.
you're breaking apart the tokens in a way that you're having one action that you're optimizing for, or one thing that you're doing. So it becomes more of a refinement process or a
Yeah.
sequencing.
Yeah.
that builds out, and then I guess after you do that, right, you you automate it,
Yeah,
and
exactly. What I'm doing is I'm operating it from the front end at this point. I'm just creating custom GPTs. I'm operating it from the front end. I got my process down. I've got my outputs down. Now, once I get all that, then I can turn around and basically duplicate that on the playground and run APIs and create automations to where it does all that every morning for me. Let's say I could
yeah,
literally have it every morning, go scour the web for current information, come back, give me all that stuff. So then I just look at it, approve it, hit another button, and then it rolls. And then eventually it populates a Google Doc that I would then look over and figure out how to go pop it into a WordPress blog or something like that. Make
yeah.
sense?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm working on is taking that workflow,
Hmm.
and then being able to be able to push it where you're loading in maybe topics or you're approving topics and it's pulling one,
Hmm.
and then the output is it gets published,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
then um, I do believe there's other agents that which I haven't quite figured out yet that can make sure that it's optimized with inside maybe WordPress or something like that
Hmm.
in I've figured stuff out that if you're not building it inside a builder, right, you're building it in that kind of word text on the back end or like Visual Composer. There's a lot you can do with that with
Hmm.
API calls and things. And so, yeah, I guess certainly I see the opportunity in this, and I think a lot of people listening see it as well, and a lot of people are building this, but at the same time, I'm terrified on the other end of it, right? I'm
Yeah.
terrified that I'm not moving fast enough, that other
Hmm.
people are moving faster, that, um, you know, can this get away from me? Because I constantly read and do webinars and go to conferences to stay on top of it. Because there's been, and if we just stick with SEO for a minute, in the last, let's say, 36 months, there's been more changes in the last 15, 20 years.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so actually tomorrow, I'm having Bruce Clay on my podcast. So
Okay.
father of SEO, and I mean, things are just moving so rapidly to keep up. And
Yeah.
then once these agents start to, like, let's say 12 months from now, are kind of fully launched and people are operating that space, like I'm like, that's got to be me, right? And if it's
Mhm.
not me, you know, who is doing it, and they're going to be so far ahead, right? They're going to be so far ahead. And so, you know, you got to constantly, it's a moving target, but it's moving a lot faster now. And it's like, how do you stay on on top of this in a way that, like, SEO is dead, SEO, long live the king kind of thing. Like, but this is like, no, this is moving exponentially in a direction that's going to fundamentally change how things are done. It's not just like, uh, further on the plot line in that general direction. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
That's at least how I'm viewing it. And so
Mhm.
that's where a lot of my time is going, is to, really figure this out. So we're operating at the highest level at internally at our agency.
Well, I think that's really where specialization is going to be even more important. If you try to be a generalist, it's going to be very hard to succeed. But if you become a specialist, that's where you're going to have some domination. So I mean, like, for instance, I had a friend of mine say, I just don't, man, there's so much happening. He's on our mastermind group and he was like, there's so much going on. I don't know what to do. Do I need to do this? Do I need to do this? And I was like, dude, you're going to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. We need to drill down to what it is that you do every day in your job to make you more effective, and then turn around and focus on the AI tools around that, and then become the specialist in that for your audience.
Mm,
That's the only way you become a master at something, is by solving your own problem first, right? And you've got to do that over and over again. So if I were going to be so backing up, I've had an agency for the last 25 years, and we started off as a software company, and then became a digital marketing agency. And I sold the agency part of that off 3 years ago to just teach people how to use AI because I knew that was the new direction. But I have a lane that I want to stay in for that. I could be really broad,
Oh yeah.
and then my head would explode because I mean, God, every hour a new AI tool is launched. So you
Yeah.
just can't keep up with that. But what you do have to do is figure out how to master, a handful of them and be really effective at executing a certain lane of things. And that's where you can provide more value. But SEO, I think it's going to change its name. Is really what I think is going to happen. I'd love to be the guy that coins it, but it ain't going to be SEO anymore. It's going to be AIEO, which,
Yeah,
which
yeah, no, I've heard that, and over the years, certainly, like I actually started on the paid side of things, and then really fell in love with SEO. But also one of the biggest things is that I would say we really focus on lead generation, right? And lead generation uh, is even broader than SEO. And SEO, that definition has expanded as well, right? Because you're talking to the social media large language models and algorithms and really it's like how that orchestra gets put together. And
Mhm,
so there's a it's people say it takes a village to do SEO right, and certainly building out different agents that have different specialties, and we have quite a large SEO team, but we offer really kind of full marketing, like outsourced marketing for companies. So
mhm,
there's a lot of things that we're doing that are ticking the box in different areas, and so you know there's not one thing, right? If you look at attribution, it's not a lot of times AdWords gets the attribution, but there's many other touch points that happen, right?
right.
And they're all across the funnel. You have uh, people finding the brand in different ways, whether it be on social media, whether it be through SEO, um, whether it be through, Reddit. Right? We're seeing a
Mhm.
lot of opportunity in Reddit. Certainly right now we're actually internally one of the big specialties that we've been developing is only 4% of all searches are AI right now, but we think
Whoa.
that's going to grow, and we think
I
that
got a
that's
different
something that
stat
people
just
want.
this morning. I got a different stat than that literally just this morning. It's up to 57% now. Now, I don't know where that came from,
Okay, wow.
but it's frightening. Now, I think what they're saying
Now
is
that's all searches though. So that's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
hey, how's the weather? Like those are not commercialized searches, I don't think. So
I don't know. Because if you think about it, Google has inserted,
the
Gemini,
AI overviews, is
Google,
that
right?
yeah.
Um, I go to Perplexity now before I go to anything. I also use ChatGPT's web search now, which is trying to go head to head with Perplexity.
Mhm.
It's changing way faster than 4%. I mean, way more than that. And I think the behavior is changing as well. So instead of people searching for keywords or maybe a little bit of long tail, they're getting paragraphical, if that's even a word. I mean, people are describing in detail what they want. And
Yeah.
that's where the new game is to really step up your content production to answer the questions that your customers ask in a sales process. And that is one of the GPTs that we've created also. I want to know what our customers ask, and then I want to create content around that. And I want that content to be deep enough to where I can publish it across every internet channel there is. And now all of a sudden, I've got a fighting chance for an LLM to pick me up when somebody says, how do I do X, Y, Z? Like, for instance, one of the top producing pages that we have on our website right now is how much does AI training for a business cost? That's the
Mm,
blog post, right?
interesting.
That's a
Yeah.
pretty damn long tail, right?
Yeah.
But it's a pretty focused one as well. So those are the kinds of the things that you need to be learning how to produce, and AI will let you do that faster. But again, given that all the content now is really becoming I don't know, the majority of it's getting produced by AI, and a lot of it's being produced by AI without a human in the loop. And the
Yeah.
majority of the stuff that AI LLMs are trained on is the massive content that was written, say, prior to 2022, right?
Oh yeah.
The thing that it doesn't know is what excellence looks like. It just knows what quantity looks like. So
Hmm.
consequently, what it writes by default is average or below average, right? Sometimes it's repetitive garbage that it just keeps hearing. And so if you tell it to write a sales page, it's going to sound like a crappy infomercial from the 90s. So we want to be able to know ourselves as SEO experts or copywriters what excellence looks like, so that we can drive it out of AI, because the real race is going to be AI versus AI, right? You
Oh yeah.
got AI detectors out there detecting AI written content and they're
And the
kicking it out,
tokens. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so now you got to have AI that beats that AI. It's a radar detector, radar to gun war, you know?
Ye Yeah. No, I mean, I think that, when you look at how Google's changed. So one is Google said, I felt like they waved the white flag, right? And they were it was kind of like no AI content. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
AI content, but it's got to add value, right?
Right.
And then they also changed it where it's parsing the entire page, right, for the answer. It's not just saying this answer, and so it's going to kind of the zero search result, and you're seeing in the AI overview. Here's the interesting thing: Google's losing money per search. Okay,
Mhm.
they're actually spending electricity and energy, and that's why I think they're going after the nuclear power plants and stuff like that, because it's costing them money to produce those AI overviews. So
Yeah.
even a search that they don't make money on is costing them to offer a better answer, because they don't want people, well, leaving search, because those ads is what makes all their money. And I think, to your point, what I'm seeing is, well, one is, if you're qualifying for the core keyword, okay, and how strong that is in the rankings, you qualify for the long tail keywords, and there's hundreds searches, like you said. Now, if you hit on something that's a little honey hole, you want to build some content around it, certainly. But really, 25% of all searches today are still brand new searches that Google's never seen before. So then it's pulling from all the existing content it has to better answer the question. But I do think you hit it head on, in the sense that, what each page is trying to do is answer that sales process as best as possible. And so
Yeah.
you're trying to figure that out. Now, to shift gears a little bit, because I really thought, what you're doing is interesting. I want to switch gears from kind of content and SEO to more kind of, okay, businesses that are developing an AI first culture, and kind of, where do they get started? What does that look like? What is the definition, right, of
Yeah.
an AI first culture? And maybe some examples of that. I would love to kind of transition into that if we could.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, if you read online, you'll see all these stats that 86% or 87%, whatever, companies have adopted AI. But then if you get in front of an audience of, say, small to medium sized businesses, and you ask for a show of hands of who's using AI, that number drops to about 30%. So don't believe what you read. The adoption curve is going on the way up, but what they're all the news I think they're reporting is what's the Fortune 100 doing? I don't know about you. I'm not in the Fortune 100, and the vast majority of our clients aren't either. So they're all small to medium sized businesses or small to medium sized enterprises, and their adoption rate is, um, be, think of it this way: everybody's essentially self taught, if they're using it at all, right? Self taught means
Well, I
they're
mean,
all doing it
these
a
stats,
different
like,
way. Pardon me.
sorry, there's a little delay here. So, I mean, I would say if you're in a Fortune 100 company and they're using Copilot, right? Or whatever,
Yeah,
Microsoft
yeah.
Copilot. I mean, they're using AI in their,
And so they
which
check the
certainly
box.
is a
Yeah,
great use, is making sure your grammar and
right.
you're writing your emails are very polished.
Mhm.
Um, but I would say that depending on the survey, like I would say, oh yeah, they've totally implemented AI, right? And then I
Right.
would say the small businesses, hey, I asked Chat GBT for whatever, and it's like, have you used AI this week? Okay, yeah, I've used AI this week. So I agree with you from an adoption curve standpoint. You know, I I don't know. My mom, this is a funny story. My mom was one of the first employees in Microsoft. And when those kind of red boxes came out before Redbox kind of dominated the market, there was a bunch of these coming out, and I was going to buy some of them. I was out in Florida, and I was like, hey, I think that these are going to be good. And my mom was like, no way, no way, waste of money, shouldn't do that. Everything's going to be streaming, right? Netflix
Mhm.
kind of, this is pre Netflix.
Yeah.
And she was right. The majority of it is, but there's still red boxes at pharmacies and grocery stores today because that tail is so long, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now, so I think this adoption curve is going to take a lot longer. But I'm telling you right now, is if you're at the front end of that thing, I mean, you
Yeah.
know,
You're gonna be
like
miles
you're
ahead.
gonna get massive advantage, massive boost,
Totally agree. Yeah.
and then it might
And
just get away from us. Like, who
yeah.
knows? Like, I think like I, I don't know where digital agencies are going to go in 36 months.
Yeah.
I mean, AI
Yeah.
might be
I
doing
don't
everything.
either. I don't either, but I know, I mean, to kind of go to your question of what's an AI first company look
Yeah.
like, it's beyond Copilot. Okay. An AI first company is where every employee is thinking, how do I get AI to help me do this faster? And it could be just ideation, right? Like I have GPTs that I've created to help me think through problems. I have GPTs that I've created for our organization that inside the GPT is just about, every document they would need that was describe our products, our services, our processes, or whatever. So they can use it to either create content on one side or they can use it to ask the AI a question instead of me. Those are the kinds of uses. Like I was on a live stream this morning and we were talking about sales, marketing, and AI.
Mhm.
And I was telling them that one of the things that we do by default is well, virtually all of our sales conversations are held over Zoom because, I think we have two employees in Lafayette. Everybody else is all over the country or the world. So we record all those on Zoom, but we always have a note taker present. If I'm in front of somebody, I use this little device. If you've ever seen that before, it's called a Plaud Note, Plaud. Go get one; they're great. Um,
Mm.
they also have this goofy little wearable version here. All right, so you can take that into any conference room and record the thing. It will give you a transcript. You can create your own customization for analyzing the transcript. Those things are invaluable. So we take the transcript the minute, we usually use Fathom, but there are others, Meet Geek, there's a ton of them.
Yeah.
But we take that transcript, even though Fathom has its own summary, we don't use its summary. We've created our own. We analyze it so that we understand how well we did in the sales presentation because the GPT we created knows all of our products and services. And so it's going to analyze that call and say, where did we miss an opportunity? It's also going to analyze that call and help us understand where the prospect was coming on, or coming from, what were some of the subtle signals that we may have missed in the conversation. It'll bring that all out to us and let us understand that sales call better. And then we take that same thing, we roll it into a different GPT, and that GPT generates a sales proposal, all right, based on everything it knows about that conversation. Then we take that one and we roll it into a different GPT, and that GPT now analyzes the prospect. And guess what it does? It makes that prospect a persona. So we make it generate a
That's cool.
disc
Yeah.
profile and an Enneagram. Like there goes my thumb again. Um, And so now it then knows how our well, theoretically, it knows how our prospect is thinking and reacting. And so then we tell the GPT to become that persona. Instead of the theoretical persona we started with in marketing, now we have the actual persona. And so
Mhm.
then we have that persona, we have GPT assume that personality and read our proposal. And then we have it come up with the objections that the persona would come up with and the questions it had. And then we have it rewrite the proposal to address that. And we go through that cycle 3 times until now we have a proposal that's refined to hopefully beat every objection that our prospect would potentially have. And then we move into another one that then generates an email that also refines it based on the persona that we can send to the prospect and say, hey, we got a proposal ready. You had all these issues. We've addressed them. When can we meet? Right.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff is done by AI. And that's thinking AI first, right? That's not just saying, hey, how can I make this a really fast copywriter and stuff a bunch of boilerplate in there? I've
Sure.
now got a proposal that is so customized and personalized it's you don't get that
Well,
in the old school agency world that I used to have. I used to have a whole lot of boilerplate, and I would just have a summary of what they wanted, and here's what we're gonna sell you, you know?
yeah, no, I really like that in that getting in the mind of the prospect and figuring out what those questions might be based upon the available data. And if you're bringing actual information in from the meeting with them, you're putting in really quality data, so you're not even guessing,
Right.
and then answering those objections prior to the case. Because I think when I'm training my sales guys. Or consultants, I guess, is that I think a lot of times you got to get on the call with the client and you got to understand and see what those objections are because if they walk away and you don't know what their objections are and they've got all the information on the proposal, you know, they're off making their own decision of, you know, uh, if you're the right fit for them or not, or there's questions that they have that they might not have answered or solved. And so I would say that the success rate would go up dramatically utilizing the process you just described, John.
Well, I mean, I always tell people, marketing is the new sales, right? They're intertwined now to a degree you've never seen before. So with AI, we have the ability to research our market and create a persona that we actually use in marketing as opposed to as an agency charging somebody for a persona that we don't ever look at again. We can force AI to use that persona.
Hmm.
But before a sales call, in order to get on the call with somebody, you can use AI to really analyze that prospect. So you can do account-based marketing to
Yeah, you
a
use
whole
the
new
social
level.
media analysis to build a
Exactly.
profile based upon all the
Yeah, I
information
can
that
I can
you
look at
put
their
in on the
Twitter
cover sheet.
feed, I can look at their LinkedIn profile, I can do a whole lot of other stuff. I can look at their bio that's on the website, I can look at their website itself, and then I can turn around and if my AI knows all the products and services that I sell, I can say what problems do they have that I can potentially solve, and then build a profile around that. And now I've got a whole better way to make that phone call. I've had, every now and then a spammer gets through to me and wants to sell me something. And then they go, what do you do? And I'm like, you don't know? You called me and you don't know what I do?
Yeah,
So,
they're just going down the list or the phone's
right,
ringing.
right.
It's
Yeah, but
crazy.
there's
It's
no
it's
excuse for
insane.
that now, right? There's no
Yeah, of
excuse,
course
right? And
not.
so it gives you an opener that like you've never had before in terms of an advantage. You know exactly what their business does, and you can get that research within 45 seconds of the phone call and brief yourself really quickly with some really powerful stuff. But imagine starting your day as a sales rep and you've already got the 50 or 100 people you're supposed to call today and you got a solid briefing on them before you make any dial. And it tells you exactly what pains, problems, and frustrations they may have that you can solve. That's powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do cold call selling, and we were calling 60 to 80 people a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when LinkedIn came out, that was kind of like the first iteration of it, of actually knowing some kind of information. Many times it was like calling people in a directory, right? And you just had a
Oh, yeah.
name and a title,
Yeah.
and you had to actually build out who that was and their background and all the persona.
Well,
So
and you
I
have to
want
hope they're
to,
still alive and they still work for the company,
yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Is that information even correct? Like,
Right.
right? And so they're, and then and I think everything's reversing, right? So I was certainly of like, hey, you want to buy a chicken, you want to buy a chicken, you want to buy a chicken, you're going to find someone that wants to buy a chicken, and you're trying to reach as many people as possible. So I started using digital marketing from a leverage standpoint to, you know, customize a one-to-many message and get that same message that had a high response rate out to as many people as possible. Now
Mhm.
we're going to the opposite of this spectrum that, well, I think it's expected. And certainly I get annoyed, even getting phone calls or emails when it's not personalized, right? And you can do personalization at scale now. And, I think that um, that's where everything's going to go because it's not, if you're getting sold to something you actually need and it's personalized and it's solving a problem for you, like you welcome it. But when it's just just random kind of spaghetti on the wall,
Right.
that's when I think it gets annoying. So I want to transition if we have time here to we've talked about maybe the front end marketing on top of the funnel content SEO. We touched on that. Then we touched on the sales component, which I think is what's going to really make waves, right? And
Right.
like some of these AIs too that are doing the outreach and that are like so there's human checks and balances in your process, and I think it's phenomenal. I've seen these AIs that do the outreach and
Mhm.
can go back and forth and have a conversation, and it absolutely blows my mind if you don't have a complicated sell.
Yeah.
I think you're more talking B2B, and I think that there's so many industries that are B2B that haven't taken advantage of marketing like B2C companies had. I actually have another podcast that I do in the oil and gas space, and I do it with the person that founded the agency. He's got the largest oil and gas podcast. It's called the Oil and Gas Sales and Marketing Podcast because everybody's original in oil and gas. And we actually talk about how to integrate marketing qualified leads and sales qualified leads because a lot of people think marketing is just graphic design and
Right.
booth promo stuff, right? And how far it's become and how you can land $100 million contracts through inbound, right? And I think that it for the CMOs that are open, it's starting to absolutely change the game. And I think that there's so much opportunity in that area to address. I would love to break this podcast into a third here and talk about those AI first cultures of maybe some use cases of a company that's integrated in AI into what they're doing and how it can exponentially help them solve a problem or add more value or do something in the whole business case of like a kind of a full stack integration uh, into the core DNA of what they're doing. Because I think that, sales is one thing. And I think there's probably right now, like you said, people saying that they do it, maybe a little bit more lip service than, hey, this is integrated into our workflow. And
Yeah.
I would love to hear some case studies and examples about businesses that have adapted that and kind of how
Sure.
it's transformed their business.
Yeah, I can tell you about the people that have gone through our training and how it's shifted the way they do, and actually I've given a lot of examples of those in the book that I just pre-released to the public. It'll go on sale in Amazon sometime in March, but I released it
And the
to
book's
people.
called Ingrain AI Strategy Through Execution. Is that right?
Yeah, 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 and you can go to ingrain.ai and get a copy of it. For a while, I'm giving people pre-release copies, digital copies for free. So if anybody hears this, they can go grab that at ingrain.ai. But
I'll pick up
what's
a copy
happened
right now.
is, as you know, you've been playing around with it, Matthew, for a while, right? So you've been playing around with ChatGPT for a couple of years. You probably played around prior to that with Copy AI or Jarvis, as it was called before. It's
Yeah.
Jasper
Oh
now,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
So you've been around the block, but you're like every other marketer. They're like, oh wow, this is going to speed up my job. So the majority of businesses got their first taste of AI through the marketing department, which is way different, from normal. So
Mhm.
now what you have is you have to have other people in the organization going, how can I use this? Right? Sales is a logical one, but there's so many sales teams that are far behind that they don't realize they can use it. HR is another one. Customer service is another one. Um, Finance is another one. Legal is another one. I could go on and on. We teach skills tracks in each of those disciplines, by the way. But go ahead. You had a question,
Yeah,
Matt. Sorry.
well, so the biggest challenge I've seen, depending on the size of the company,
Yeah.
is real buy-in from the top, right? You're bringing something
Absolutely.
new in, right? And
Yep.
and you want to get it integrated. Like I can tell you, I know some companies that are acquiring other companies,
Mhm,
and like you said, I think they're just kind of acquiring them to take out the competition because they can. And
mhm.
and I haven't seen a lot of companies fully integrate those teams, and so a lot of times they operate kind of independently, and even their CRMs are not really talking to each other. So I think that from a when I say lip service, I kind of mean, yeah, we're going to do AI. Yeah, like AI is going to change the game, but it's got to come from the executive team down and
Yeah,
saying we're what we need to do a whiteboarding session, and we need to you know completely rethink how we do this,
yeah,
and what are the steps, and where can we add AI to this to help increase that efficiency. Because if you have some champion, right, that's trying to pull everybody else along, right, and everybody's not bought in, and it's not being kind of forced from the top down, I think the success rate's going to be mixed.
yeah, yeah. So here's what we're seeing. Um, okay, not to totally age myself, but I'm um, I'm in that age where the people my age are the ones that are now running the company. Okay, give
Yeah.
or take 10 years, let's say. All right, I'm stunned at how many of them are like, I don't know what this AI thing is. And all of the younger people are like, we need to use this. So what we get is this influx of C-suiters coming to our training and saying, I need to get my head around this so that I can filter this through the organization and manage it. So that's
Mhm.
basically step one, is getting the leadership team together and helping them understand. Not You can go anywhere and get these little trainings that teaches you why it's important and what, it is. That's useless. You got to move beyond that. You need to know how it can apply and how to do it and how to speak about it at a consistent level across the organization. And that's what we try to teach. We try to just go, okay, look, I'm not going to teach you the history of LLMs. I'm not going to teach you the history of machine learning. I'm not going to teach you about robotics. What I am going to teach you to do is use AI tonight and do something. Okay. And then by the time you're finished with our course, you will have built an AI automation. Well, not necessarily an automation. You would have built a GPT or a series of them. So that's the capstone project, right? I want them. I want the C-suiter to know what it feels like to have an AI do something that took some task of theirs that would take a week to do, and then all of a sudden have it done in an hour, or something that would take 3 hours to do and have it done in about a minute and a half. When they see that happen, their heads explode and they go, "Okay, now I got to get everybody using this." But how do I get them to use it so that we have shareable, scalable knowledge? Well, that becomes a process, right? It's like in any other organization, the way you scale is by developing SOPs, standard operating procedures that are
Yep.
documented. Everybody, if somebody leaves, somebody else can come in, know the process, get onboarded, and execute with excellence, right? You have to do the same thing with AI. And again, once they understand that framework and that foundation, then it starts to really scale. And then you get, if you develop it right, then you get HR going to marketing and going, hey, you know how you wrote that job description over here? Can I take that prompt? Because now I want to write a job description that meets the legal requirements for our documentation inside. Right. And then you get somebody in legal, like this is a whack incident. You were talking about you're in the oil and gas space.
Yeah.
One of the guys that went through our training is a chemical engineer or a chemist. I can't remember which. He works for some of the largest oil companies in the world. He develops chemicals for them to use in various rigs and other things. He applies for somewhere between 15 and 20 patents a year. And he's got a software application that costs $15,000 a year to help him create these patents. And then he hands it off to an attorney who does a patent search to determine whether or not there are conflicts with his patent. And so they employ a team of legal
That's a big business. That's a
paralegals.
big business.
Big
Yeah,
business.
selling off those
Okay.
patents.
In our training, okay, in the first 3 weeks, all right, so and in our training is recorded, and we have office hours twice a week where we work with them live and help them finesse what they're doing. But everybody knows you come in and you're going to leave with something that works for you. This isn't, a playground. You're going to have something that makes your business better. This guy built a patent analyzer. So it literally will analyze his patent. It will look at other patents. It will tell him where the conflicts are, and it'll help him rewrite the patent so that there are no conflicts. And then he just hands it to his attorney. So he terminated a $15,000 a year software application, and instead of spending $3,000 to $5,000 per patent in legal fees, he's
Yep.
paying now about $800 to $1,000 in legal fees. And when he hands off the brief to the attorney, they're like, "Whoa, this
No,
is going
I can absolutely
to."
see that. We built something like that for content gap analysis, and but I think solving a bigger problem with
Yeah,
more zeros associated with it, more value. I can absolutely see that kind of scenario happen over and over again. So not just more productivity, but a cost savings based on the current process of what they're currently doing. Okay, so we're kind of getting to the end here. I want to just understand a little bit more, and I think for the audience as well, of kind of the service offering you have from a corporate training standpoint. Want to understand a little bit more about maybe you find a business that needs it, they probably hire you, and how do you kind of graft your organization to that company because you know a lot of this stuff can't be implemented or solved overnight. And so, there's a real process to change mindset to get
yeah,
some of these workflows and SOPs implemented. So I'm curious, kind of, okay, you have a great community. It looks like you're doing corporate training, you're getting people into workshops, you have office hours. I totally get all that. Um, uh, I want to know a little bit more about the direct engagement, right? They're like
mhm,
they want it done with you, right? They want
yeah,
it done with you to get it implemented. Kind of how are you approaching that?
yeah. Good question. So what we typically do is we want one or more of the executive team to go through our business leaders skills track. So we have a business leaders skills track, one for sales, one for marketing, one for legal, blah, blah, blah. We got 10 different skills tracks that they go through, but everybody goes through the same foundational training and then they go into their unique skills track. I want a business leader to go through the business leaders sales track first, and then they would engage us to help them come up with a plan to push it throughout the organization. And that what they'll understand it as they go through that, they because it's recorded, they can kind of go at their own leisure. So they don't have to go suck out 3 days of their time and go to a power webinar or
Yeah,
a
yeah,
workshop. They can go through it at their own pace, and now they have a really good understanding, and then they say, okay, now we need your help to establish AI governance, depending on how big they are. If it's a small company, it's a different deal. Then they want to get leadership, maybe the management team, trained up on it. You have to have internal champions, and you know this from being in SEO. When we started our company, the one thing that we noticed is that everybody every business that wanted a website, the IT department handled the website initially.
Oh
And you're
yeah.
like,
Oh
that's
yeah.
not, just because it's software doesn't mean it needs to be in IT. Right. And gradually IT loosened up and said, okay, well, we'll let marketing do it because now there's WordPress. Now there's a UI, but we're still going to control the engine. We'll let you play around with the UI. Right.
It was a
So
security thing, right? And that's
yeah, it's
their
a security
security
thing.
first, and
Yeah.
so we've developed workarounds
Well, yeah, everybody kind of does,
help get a
right? And
better
that's what's
access
happening
to.
now, right? In these organizations, the workaround is the worker goes in and logs into their own personal account. And now you have security risks. So
Yep.
what we want to try to do is create AI governance that has some rules, but a lot of guidelines. And we
Got
want to
it.
have oversight that's not handcuffing, but empowering. So I don't really want IT overseeing AI governance. I want them having a voice in it. But what I do want in AI governance is somebody who is an innovator and a power user who really gets the impact because it has to move fast. So you
Mhm.
have to have the right person overseeing it. And so we teach people what that looks like. I go over that in great detail in the book. All right. So now once we got AI oversight in the right hands with the right mindset, now I can get all the people on board and they actually get excited when they go, oh, this is going to make my job easier. This is so amazing. Right. And so now what they've seen is people really get excited about learning it, about executing it. And if you structure it the right way, they share amongst themselves instead of compete with themselves. They share that knowledge and that expertise. And that's when you start to get this AI first thinking. And again, AI first thinking is not just how do I get it to write a blog post? It is how do I think about going to AI first to get my idea or my question answered instead of bugging my boss or instead of, you know, doing my old school research. How do I just ask ChatGPT a better question? And then if you're in sales, the stuff that you can do now with multimodal AI is also insane. You know, you were talking about outbound sales calls. If you go to like sales.ai, you can, for I think it's $2,500 a month, you can get an outbound calling AI agent that will replace 3 outbound appointment setters. And you could use it for setting appointments, or you could use it for just discovering who the decision maker is. You could use it for a lot of things. You could build your own also, but the reporting tools inside of sales.ai are pretty slick. We had him come talk to our mastermind. It's cool stuff. But imagine in your own organization when you create that GPT, and you can just do this with a GPT. You don't even have to go out and build an agent for this. But if you build a GPT that understands all your sales materials and all that stuff, you can now use your phone and have an oral conversation with that GPT as a role playing agent.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean,
Oh yeah.
you can't quite clone that guy's voice and put it in the GPT yet. If you wanted to spend some money, you could build an agent
You get
that
a
did
lot
that.
of
But
yeah.
but
Yeah. I
the
mean,
cheap version
yeah.
is
I mean,
just do it with
anything's
AI. Yeah,
possible.
the cheap way is to just do it with ChatGPT. But yeah, you can do that. It's amazing.
Well, I mean that's when I went into sales, role playing was a huge part of it, right? And
Mhm.
AI could analyze what you're saying, how your response rates are, what you should use in response to that. I mean, I can see so many applications as an adjunct, not just a replacement with AI. So completely, this has just been great. This has been really fascinating, John. Um, uh, Ingrain.ai. How do people get in touch with you if they want to learn more, join the community, get a copy of the book?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you can go to ingrade.ai and you can join the community. I think all you have to do to really join the community is just request a copy of the book. For now, you could join our mastermind group. You can catch me on LinkedIn. I think I'm JW Munsell on LinkedIn. Or go to the other corporate website, which is Bizzuka, BIZZUKA.com. That's where we do all the corporate training and stuff. So
Whoa, I didn't know about this one. What is it called? Bazooka?
yeah, BIZZUKA.com.
Very
Yeah, that's the
cool.
company that we've had for 20 plus years now.
Very cool. All right. Well, I think this was an absolutely fascinating conversation. I usually ask people, what's one unknown secret of internet marketing that you want to leave the audience with?
An unknown secret? Man, I don't have an unknown secret because I haven't figured it out yet. The unknown secret to me is going to be figuring out what's the new SEO to get
Mm.
me at the top of Perplexity, you know, without going through all kinds of gymnastics. I've seen other trainers go and illustrate how they can key in all this stuff, and all of a sudden their website comes up, and I'm like, yeah, that's because you wrote 7 paragraphs. I want to know how to really build the fly trap, for the new SEO, which is going to be all LLM based. But I, I
Well,
I don't have that unlocked yet. I'm working
yeah,
on it.
no. So we can talk a little bit more offline. I actually, that's been where our focus has been, right?
Yeah,
So
excellent.
certainly, AI agents are a little bit newer, but over the last 18 months, that was one of the first things that clients started asking, and we were curious ourselves. Is okay, there's going to be one answer typically. Now, Perplexity, their model's a little bit different, right? They're pushing out their own affiliate links, which is
Mhm.
pretty amazing from a revenue standpoint. And there's definitely some uh, balancing act issues with it that I think people have, but they're monetizing these links, and it's quite
Yeah,
dramatic based on the number of searches they have on how many affiliate links they can push out. But
yeah,
I had
yeah.
a client. We get about probably 2 leads a week that are coming through. They found us through ChatGPT or one of the other language models.
Mhm,
And one of our biggest clients actually, this was probably about a year ago, and we were working on ChatGPT, and we were working on ranking in ChatGPT, and a lot of the things that we were doing are really just going back to the fundamentals, and doing really good SEO.
mhm.
And they called in and they said, and they wanted to get me on the call, and so the salesperson brought me in. He said, "Hey, the only reason I am talking to y'all is uh, I was searching for the top AI SEO company in Perplexity." And this was at the time, I'm not sure right now. And they said, "Y'all came up." And
Sweet.
and my first question at the time was like, "What is Perplexity?" um, and
Unconscious competence is what we call that. You don't
yeah,
even know how good you are.
and so I was being honest. Like, yeah, I'm pretty transparent as far as what I know and what I don't know and what we can do. And uh and so we started that conversation, and at a certain point he goes, "I feel like I know you or I've heard your voice before, whatever." And and then I was like, "Well, maybe you listen to the podcast." I just kind of threw it out there. And he goes, "What's it called?" And he's searching and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I know you." He's like, and he's like, "Yeah, I've listened to the podcast." And then we
What a
we closed that
scream.
deal. Um,
That's
so there's
cool.
kind of that expertise, authority, trust, and certainly AI got us in the game,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah,
but the human element uh pulled it all the way through to close the deal. And I think
yeah,
there's going to be a lot of that kind of augmented uh
yeah,
user that's going to be able to be superhuman,
yeah,
in being
agreed.
able to leverage a lot of these skill sets. And I think the biggest thing that's going to slow people back is what you're talking about, is the corporate governance
Yeah,
of really adopting it and getting it implemented, because uh, that's what I've seen the fastest thing to kill a great new idea in a big in a big company is
yeah,
um is just not getting the buy-in.
yeah,
So,
true. Oh, I will give you one secret, okay, now that I think
all
about it.
right.
So, this is actually the question that I ask all of our prospects at the beginning of the call, of the discovery call. And yeah, and I even tell them, "This is a trick question, so I want you to pay attention to how I ask the question." And I said, "90% of the people get the answer wrong, so let's see how you do." And the question is this: what are the top 3 problems you solve for your customer?
I love
Okay.
it.
So I'll repeat it one more time. What are the top 3 problems you solve for your customer? And what they typically come back with is the top 3 products they sell to their customer. The
Yeah.
key is knowing what problem you solve and being able to articulate it as a problem. And when you know how to articulate the problem in your prospect's mind that you solve, that unlocks your marketing. That's the secret. If you don't know how to articulate the problem, then you're selling a product or you're selling benefits or you're selling features. The minute you understand how to articulate the problem and what's going on in your prospect's mind in terms of pains and frustrations, now all of a sudden you got a shot at a lot of other things, right? That's my top secret for the day.
I love it. I think that that is what I'm seeing too, and this is a good place to end it, is the AI is only good as the operator and the knowledge in the operator's head on how to get to the right answer and what good looks like based on what you're saying until you train those very customized agents that know you've inputted all that information that will give you the right answer, right?
Yeah.
But to just take the general AI to ask it, unless you know what you're trying to get to and what that good copywriting or whatever it is looks like, um, you're you're only as good as the operator, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, and then the key is to clone your knowledge into the AI, and that's where you really are gonna crush it, right?
yeah,
Because when the
super
AI
super
can
excited
recall
about
your
the future.
ideas faster than you can, you're dominating.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it, John. All right, everyone, hopefully you enjoyed this as well. That's why we do this, to connect with people and bring in great minds that are addressing problems in the industry from a different approach. I don't have all the answers. I'm constantly learning, and everyone's going on this journey with me. This was great. If you are looking to grow your business currently, right, with the largest, most powerful tool on the planet, which is the internet, and then we can augment AI to that. Reach out to EWR for more revenue in your business. We built a proven marketing system that generates you leads online. Until the next time, my name is Matt Bertram. Bye bye for now.